been a while. It's been a while. So, it's been a while since I attempted to do my progressive primitive videos. I simply got sidetracked. I make various nut milks often, so I'm always in this kitchen, but usually I've been in this kitchen late, coming from work. And that hasn't been the time when I've actually wanted to sit down and record one of these episodes, but I did want to jump back in, check in. I've been up to a lot lately. As you see, my counter is still cluttered. It might have been cluttered last time I taped, but it's still cluttered with the various dry goods and things, that I keep on hand for all of these projects that I have in mind. So you see sort of the results of some of the projects here. One of the things I've started recently, I've gotten some water kefir from the kefir lady, and I've started brewing water kefir. So what this is very similar to kombucha. You simply start with distilled water, a bit of sugar, and some of the kefir grains, and you brew the water kefir, which has a number of probiotics in it. After it comes out, it's just below the sweetness, of sugar water. But what happens is then you can take that probiotic water, flavor it with fruit juices. So this has some passion fruit, some guava nectar, and a bit of pomegranate in it. And it's just a simple sort of sweetened water. So that's been one of the projects that I've been working on lately. Actually, I have some in process now. This is the water kefir right here. As you can see, I used a sugar in the raw, so that gives the water its tone. It's got just sort of a greenish tone there, a caramel hint in the water. And there's also a green tea bag in there or something. It might be a white tea bag, I'm not sure. But, and we got some water kefir grains down there, covered with a bit of cheesecloth so that the brew can breathe and then go forward. So that's been one of the projects I've been working on. This is my clear tonic. This is a simple apple cider vinegar tonic with, some onion, some garlic, some horseradish, hot pepper, I believe this was serrano, some ginger, turmeric, cayenne. I believe that's all that's in this particular tonic. I usually take this when I'm starting to feel unwell. So I brewed some of that recently. Really it's just taking all of those products, dropping the apple cider vinegar in a bottle, and then, or rather in a jar, and then letting it sit for about a month. And once you do that, you bottle the result, and it makes a really good wellness tonic, at least in my opinion. Also good urinary flush, kidney flush. Today, I decided to sit down and do some fridge pickles. So we have some of that here. I can't really tilt it, but hopefully you can get a good sense of that. But this is just some fridge pickles. So this is just a bit of water, some vinegar. Actually, in place of the vinegar, I use some of the clear tonic, so it gives it actually a little bit more flavor. So we got some of that that dill pickle brew, as well as a bit of some dill salt, some curing salt. And all of that right now, you boil that, and then you got it sitting in this bowl to come to room temperature. I'm going to drop some of these peppers in it too. Last time I did some fridge pickles, and I used a sweet pepper, and it just didn't get hot enough for me. I really kind of want, a little spiciness to my pickles. And last time, it didn't do that for me. So, I've got these fridge pickles that I'm going to brew up. Other project, milk kefir. So, milk kefir, simply that's some milk and some milk kefir grains. This particular milk, this is cow's milk here. I sometimes use goat milk if I can find a good quality goat's milk. But I've been working on some of the milk kefir and using that in morning smoothies. I've actually got more than I can handle at the moment, but it's been a very enjoyable process. It's been a very good experiment in this kitchen alchemy in learning how to work with our foods in a bit more of a natural way. So we have ways of manipulating foods nowadays that deal with additives and preservatives and flavorings and colorings, pushing and pulling and trying to control the essence and the outcomes of our food. But there are ways that we found before the industrial age to work with our food in a symbiotic process, in partnership with our food, and I'm really trying to get back to that. So I'm experimenting with some of these old fermentation methods in order to figure out if there are ways that we can work with our food and really get some really good relationships going back with our food. So if you remember last time when I did the nut milk, or did the hemp milk actually, I told you that when you use the pulp from the milk, you can actually save the pulp. So this is Brazil nut pulp. And basically what I've done is I've taken the pulp and I've dropped it in this pan. I've left it in the oven on a very low oven at about 180 degrees. And I've got it, just dry enough so that I can then grind it into a flour. So, I'm going to use that for some nut flour. I do some raw brownies that are very delicious, with the pulp that comes off of these nut milks. Of course, I got my pineapple here. I love pineapple. The other night, I think I actually ate half of the pineapple once I chopped it, because it's so irresistible. So I'm hesitating to cut that one up because I know I will consume it very, very soon afterwards. Fridge Pickles. Yes. What else have I been doing? Scobie Hotel. Has anyone seen a Scobie Hotel? If you might have one of your own, hopefully. But Scobie Hotel, simply a house for all of the kombucha scobies that I'm not actively using at any given moment. So this is one of my Scobie Hotels. I have two on top of my fridge here, and I'm very hopeful that some of my friends will eventually come by and relieve me of some of these Scobie Hotels, because I have way too many scobies, more scobies than I can ever use in brewing kombucha. So if anybody in Chicago wants to brew kombucha, please come get my scobies. Yes. So tonight, I'm also over here working on another pot of kombucha. I've got 2 jars of kombucha that are brewing right now. And so I've got another pot of tea up here. And I'm going to bottle up one of these batches, switch out to a new batch of tea for the kombucha tonight. And I'll have many projects going, many irons on the fire. Just and again, restoring this relationship to our food. Let's not get caught up in the packaged world. Right now we live in a packaged society, we live in a just-in-time society. Let's figure out how to really embrace our food. Have a conversation with our food. And figure out if this piece of food is going to give its life for me. How can I make sure that I am giving worthwhile time, giving worthwhile attention to that process? Yes. The microbiome. I'm switching topics rapidly this evening because, as I said, this is just entirely an impromptu video. I just figured I was in the kitchen doing so much tonight. I was cleaning, I was washing dishes, I was starting on these fridge pickles, I was doing this kombucha, I was changing out the kefir, that I figured I needed to sit down and just get a quick glimpse, get a quick snapshot of some of the workings and goings-ons right now in Kitchen Alchemy and Primitive Progressive, whatever I call myself, wholly unimportant at the moment. Less important than actually capturing the process and thinking through the process. So, I believe I mentioned the hibiscus petals last time. I still have not gotten around to making sorrel. Perhaps that'll be my next recording. Just sitting down with this process of making the sorrel, which is just, you know, the hibiscus petals, which is ginger, which is cloves, you know, which is, I think it's about it. You know, after you're done with the sorrel, you can you can certainly add rum to it if you want to make a cocktail of it, or, you know, just a nightcap. But you can certainly enjoy the sorrel by itself as well. Drop a bit of honey in there to sweeten the pot, and then have your drink. Yes, enjoy it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm enjoying experimenting and finding this grounding, this new relationship with food. Yeah, I think that's actually all I have to say for this evening. It's odd. I had an impromptu moment where I just wanted to get some video on the reel, and now I think I'm really at the end of what I was doing in the kitchen tonight, and I don't necessarily know if I want to add something on tonight to this process simply to get good tape. Yeah, I probably won't get good tape tonight, but I did have a good story. So hopefully you are part of that story, and this video has been enough to motivate me to get back on my grind and make some more tape, because certainly I want to share this process, and I'm at such a place at the moment of wanting to share this process that I'm actually thinking of doing just a spin-off series of events in the Chicago area where I bring some of this kitchen alchemy out, collaborate with some other wonderful people that I know in this cooking community in Chicago. People who are, you know how you have bedroom DJs, you know, folks who just kind of DJ in their bedroom for the love of it. People who are in their kitchen, people who don't necessarily share at events, who are not necessarily professional chefs or anything, or caterers or culinary experts, but people who simply have these different kitchen experiments and want to come together in a space and an environment to collaborate and share with other people. So, you know, my kombucha started in a space like this. You know, Brother Seneca locally here with We Farm America, he had a Skillshare at the Black Star Project building, and we came together and we each shared some of our talents, you know, in terms of, I learned raw brownies that night, I learned about preparing kombucha that night, and I also got my first SCOBY, which led to these 2 SCOBY hotels. I learned how to make sauerkraut, although I have not tried sauerkraut. I've never actually had sauerkraut, so I don't know if I'm actually a fan of sauerkraut, but I guess, you know, having learned it, I should probably try it just to make sure, you know, I determine whether I enjoy it or not. So yes, I want to collaborate with some other people in Chicago and bring some of this kitchen alchemy out from our individual kitchens into social spaces where we can figure out if there are other people who have not touched on these processes who might want to learn them. You know, we have a lot of things to share with each other, and I don't think we should confine ourselves simply to our individual experiences, knowing that we want other people to taste. You know, I always say this, you know, in terms of my own cooking. I don't necessarily cook just to say that I have prepared something. I really do cook. I really do prepare. I really do experiment with these processes because I want a certain bit of critique, a certain bit of feedback on exactly how this flavor affects you. I want to know how garam masala hits your palate, what emotions you experience when you taste it. I want to know what experiences you have when you taste that Burberry on the tip of your tongue. Burberry, excuse me, I said Burberry. Burberry on the tip of your tongue. What does it mean for you? You know, when it's connected with chickpeas and turnips, and how do these flavors interact? And there's a psychological moment, there's a physiological moment, there's so much connected in terms of consuming food. It's never really just about putting something in your mouth and then putting something in your stomach. It's about, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about your food? How do you feel when you're preparing your food? And then how do you feel when you're consuming your food? So, I think that's an important way to go. I hope that doesn't make me a food snob. I don't think I would eschew the label of foodie. I wouldn't shove that off, but I certainly don't want to be a food snob. I am definitely not a food elitist. I certainly don't want to be a food elitist, and I don't want anyone to think that way about food. Because we also have to consider issues of food justice, and people who do not have the privilege to think about what emotional experience they are having in the consumption of their food. There are a lot of things to think about when we consider food, and it's important to consider all of them. So, a new process coming soon in conjunction, or rather in extension of the mission of the Healthy Food Hub. The Healthy Food Hub being our local food distribution point, which is actually happening this Saturday, if I get this video up before the 21st, at Betty Shabazz International Charter School from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Betty Shabazz International Charter School, 7823 South Ellis Avenue in Chicago. We do have our food distribution point. You know, folks can come, they can participate in the market, they can get some of the local produce from Pembroke. We've got an abundance of local greens, collards and kale. We got these wonderful ripe tomatoes that are, you know, we got standard tomatoes, and then we've got cherry tomatoes, you know. We've had this beautiful spaghetti squash. So there's just an abundance of things that you can experience there. And of course there are vendors, you know, Mama Marvell with her marvelous ginger lemonade, Mama Barbara with her assorted variety of sundries and dried goods, dried kale and sorrel, and she's all, Indigo Spins is always coming up with something new. You've got Mama Annie with her delicious, delightful smoothies, and Mama Carolyn with her bread and spices, Baba Casabez and Baba Dubois, you know, with their assorted books and clothing. So yeah, you know, it's a great experience around food to stimulate what we are having now. A dialogue, a conversation about food that is not really about food. Yeah. That's it. That's what I want to have. I want to have a dialogue about food that is never really about food. Because when we have conversations in the hub that are seemingly about food, that appear to be about food, they're really about sustainability. They're really about resiliency. They're really about community. They're really about all of these tangential issues that exist outside of food. And it's important for us to recognize and understand them, participate in them, be a part of them, grow them and expand them. So yeah, cheers. I drink this kefir to these dialogues about food that are not about food. And continue on. Until my next reel, enjoy, build a relationship with your food, figure out what's on your plate and why it's there, and figure out how you can get closer to it. If it means you growing them, if it means you going to the place where it is grown, if it means you shopping with a place that lessens the distance that the food has to travel to get to your plate. All of those things can help you build a relationship with your food, and I'm thoroughly encouraging that in this dialogue about food that is not about food. And I'm going to quit rambling for right now. I'm going to stop and come back later when I actually have a coherent point to express. thank you for listening to me ramble, and cheers.